Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies, and comrades, I hope you're doing well wherever you are. This is Kenya Revolutionary. Sorry for the delay. I had some technical problems. If you're joining right now, seeing this live on your timeline, or if you're subscribed and you get a notification, do not hesitate. You know, the first order of business is what? Like the video. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. How is everyone feeling? How's everyone doing? From the people in X who are following me in X, I hope you're doing well. People following me on my YouTube channel, I hope you're doing well. If you're just seeing this on the first time, please go ahead. Don't waste any time. Like, share, comment, subscribe. And we shall get to the topic, okay? Just give me a second. Let me get my stuff running here. So we just give me 2 seconds. There you go. Boom. Got it figured out. All right. Sasa basi. All right. As we go today, let's examine something. The topic, as you can see, it's General Ogolla, a victim of political classes, power tussle. Was this man sacrificed by one of these members of the political class? I often argue that when these folks, the Railas, the Uhurus, the Rutos, if they start clashing, somebody has to pay the price. They might try to take them, each other out, which is something they try to avoid because it can lead to, the country can descend to civil war. Okay, so maybe they might just clip each other's power by taking out their minions. I know. You might be thinking, what are you talking about? I am about to break it down. But before I get to the main meal, which is General Ogolla, a victim of political class power tussle, let's just go through the historical context. Let me give you a historical context of what has been happening, okay? I see good there. Thank you very much. Say thank God I've got you. Karibu sana, and everybody else that's watching on X. But anyway, I wanted to play something, okay? I often argue that Kenya has never really quite got independence from the British. Good year, the first order of business, right? Like the video, please. And everybody who's watching, if you're watching me on X and you want to follow me, maybe you don't, I usually post on X, or you want to get my videos, watch much of my material, go to YouTube, subscribe, and you'll see all my videos there, and you'll know what I'm talking about. But let's get to something. There's a clip I want to show you by this somebody's channel. It's called Maconomy, okay? It just highlights, it gives you a snippet of how Kenya transitioned from a colony to, we gain some level of autonomy, but still very much under British rule. Let me start with that video. I know most of you guys I know people might expect me to talk about what's going on with the Labor Day celebrations and all that. I won't delve into it, but I'll get to it. Because most of those speeches are just not, they're empty speeches. I mean, you saw Sakaja speaking about, I don't know what. So you praise Medunga, you purple, or whatever the case. Some nonsensical stuff that really don't help the Wananchi. Murkomen is catching fire after visiting JKIA, and a few hours after that, Madoho reports there's power outage in JKIA. So you can see how incompetent this administration is. We know that. I'm not going to bore you with that. I just want to talk about this Ogolla incident because I think it's deeper than people think it is. I shall start with the first video so we can get, I want to walk you through, okay? Let's dig through the barrels of history and see how far we've come and how far we are going and how this political class clash. And when they clash, somebody has to shed blood, okay? But anyway, let's get started. I'll start with the first video. I'm not going to play the whole video. It's a very, very good documentary by, again, some guy called Maconomy. The title of the video is Asset Laundering in the UK, Corruption, PEPs, Offshore Leaks, okay? This has to do with all the people who, hide money steal money from their countries and they stash it over in offshore accounts. Let me start with this because this relates to Kenya. So let's start with it, okay? Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies and comrades? Let's get to it. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. Like the video while I do this. All right. Let me start with this. Okay. I'll walk you through Ogolla. Don't worry about it. We are getting to Ogolla. All right. So here's the first video that I want to share with you. Here it is. I hope it's audible. Okay. There you go.
The amount of money laundered every year is estimated at 2 to 5% of global GDP. 2% of global GDP is roughly equal to the combined GDP of Turkey, the Philippines, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan. Over $500 billion flows out of developing countries each year. Much of this money flows into Western economies via complex offshore structures. In 1952, the future Kenyan president Jomo Kenyatta is imprisoned by the British colonial authorities. He becomes a symbol of Kenya's struggle for independence.
Jomo Kenyatta is viewed as Kenya's father of independence, so to speak. He used to go by the name Johnston Kamau. He used to be a water meter reader in the colonial government's municipal council. He was also fairly well spoken. I believe that's part of the reason why he was selected from amongst the political intelligentsia at the time.
Upon his release from detention, the near-penniless Kenyatta becomes a close friend of the last British governor of Kenya, Malcolm MacDonald. In 1963, Kenyatta is elected as the first prime minister and later.
This is why I stopped.
Sorry.
On Amazon, you should too. Don't spend another dime on Amazon until you...
Sorry about that. That was good.
President of Kenya, while Malcolm MacDonald becomes the British High Commissioner. The government and civil service of the new country is comprised primarily of what the British called loyalists. Post-independence, Britain retains a number of military sites in Kenya. Today, Britain trains 6 infantry battalions in Kenya every year. 60 years after independence, the Kenyatta family is one of the wealthiest in Kenya.
The Kenyatta family have vast investments in land across the country, right down to the coast, all the way up to the what was called the White Highlands. They own the biggest milk company in Kenya. They own one of Kenya's biggest banks. They have a chain of hotels. They're building a sub-city right now, just right outside the bounds of Nairobi City. There's always been an open question about how Jomo Kenyatta was able to become such a rich person. Just 1 or 2 years after becoming president, his salary at the time doesn't match the kind of wealth that he has. There have been memoirs written by people from his administration that say that he essentially would engage in land grabs of very, very prime pieces of land owned by members of the settler community, etc.
A declassified CIA report noted that funds provided by foreign governments in order to pay for the redistribution of land from colonial settlers to landless Kenyans had allegedly been used by the Kenyattas and their associates to buy land for themselves. Today, the Kenyatta family are the biggest landowners in Kenya, holding over 500,000 acres of prime land across the country, while many former Kenyan freedom fighters and their families who fought specifically for the return of their land received nothing. Jomo Kenyatta passed away in 1978. His son, Uhuru Kenyatta, followed his father into politics.
The country's president, Uhuru Kenyatta, was among the world's rich who were named this week in the Pandora Papers.
According to the Pandora Papers, Kenya's president, Uhuru Kenyatta, and 6 members of his family have been linked to 13 offshore companies.
And what was revealed is that the family had invested in offshore structures. If you're including the extended family, as early as the mid-70s. Uhuru Kenyatta was listed as a beneficiary of a trust that, so to speak, belonged to his mother upon her death.
Uhuru Kenyatta claimed to be an advocate of transparency, and cracking down on corruption was a central theme of his term in office.
This dragon, this beast called corruption, is an animal that we intend to slay.
President Uhuru Kenyatta welcomed the leakage of the Pandora Papers, saying the publication of the papers will go a very long way in enhancing the financial transparency and openness required in the country and around the globe.
In Kenya, 2/3 of the population live in poverty on less than $3.20 per day. 70% of Kenyan families are chronically vulnerable due to poor nutrition, food insecurity, and preventable diseases. Kenyan law requires the president to provide a list of financial interests to the Ministry of Finance each year.
What we own, what we have, is open to the public, and we declare every year. And I've always said, if there is an instance where somebody can say that what we have done or obtained has not been legitimate, say so. We are ready to face any court.
He said that he's made his wealth declarations, but we've never seen them. Secondly, families of politically exposed persons don't have to declare their wealth. Between the year that he got in 2013 and today, those have been very good years for the Kenyatta's wealth. There is this feeling that the Kenyatas, as well as other political elite, they have become fabulously wealthy at a time when Kenya is suffering from the worst levels of corruption that it has seen in years. How it's been described is that there's been one rule for the elite, especially the elite that's connected to power, and another for everybody else. So that's what the perception is. I think I'll leave it at that.
The Kenyatas are what are known as politically exposed persons, or PEPs. A politically exposed person is someone who holds a public function and as a result presents a higher risk of being involved in bribery or corruption.
Politically exposed persons, in theory, have access, potential access to public funds within particular countries, and our investigations have come up with lots of evidence.
Okay, that's the first video I wanted to share with you guys. Now, listen to me very carefully. To most people, this is not news. They know how influential the Kenyatta family is. Now, the reason why I started with the Kenyatta family is because you can see the connection between Johnson Kamau, or popularly known as Jomo Kenyatta, with the British governor McDonald's. Okay, and this guy helped him basically become rich. And as you've listened to the documentary where they say they highlighted, they mention a declassified document by CIA, which says that the money that was supposed to be used to redistribute the farms, the land that the British occupied during when Kenya was their colony, was actually used by Kenyatta. Kenyatta took it for personal use. You know, he went and grabbed land and did all the stuff as the documentary highlighted. Okay. Now, in order to maintain power, especially if you're unpopular. And we know about Jomo Kenyatta's exchange with Pinto Gama, okay, where Pinto Gama knew about this and he was going to give out a dossier about this grab land. And they had an exchange where, Pinto Gama said some very not so complimentary statements towards Kenyatta, and not so long after that, he ended up dead, okay? Of course, there's a hand, the CIA hand is in that. Pinto Gama, we all know, he had a much influence even not only within Kenya, but even outside Kenya, because you remember he met Malcolm X, met Pinto Gama. He was a Kenyan Indian Kenyan. The Indians that was sent, were shipped from India to Kenya to help with the build the railroads in Kenya. He was son of one of those guys, and he became a politician who was influential and was actually, advising the opposition. He was standing up against Kenyatta's and all that stuff. You know the drill, but ended up getting gunned down, okay? But anyway, so the point I'm going to drive here is that the elite political class in Kenya, as you have heard there, whether you want to call them the politically exposed people, whatever the word you want to, however you want to describe them, in order to maintain power, they know that they're very unpopular with the people. The only way they can be elected or impose themselves on to the Kenyan people is by rigged election. But how do they do it? Yes, we know about this crazy machines where, yes, yes, I do remember that. Good year, yes. So in order for them to maintain power, they have to either have their own puppet, because remember, these are the chaperones. These are like the prefects who are acting on the behalf of the British. The British never left. They just gave us a face that looks like us to give us the illusion that we are free. We are no longer a colony, British colony, but in reality, they still hold much control, whether militarily or economically. But I'll get there. So here's what I want us to observe. How do these people maintain power? How do they keep on having this power? How do they have this power? Okay? Because they cannot be democratically elected. So the only way they can maintain power is to subvert the democratic process of elections, okay? Whether by force, rigging, and all that. That's why you hear about this. There's a lot of controversy surrounding the Smartmatic and all this stuff that was used in the last elections. But there's another element that we kind of miss, okay? Especially starting from Moi time, Kibaki time, and now probably Ruto's time. Well, Ruto kind of faced it. And this ties into what I want to talk about, Ogolla. The use of the military to help rig elections. There's a gentleman called Martin Ngatia. He lived in one of those Scandinavian countries. He used to be in the military. He escaped Kenya during Moi's regime. I think he was kind of involved. He was suspected of being involved in the 1982 coup d'etat attempt. And he made his way to Scandinavia somewhere. I think it was Sweden. He passed away a few years ago. He had a channel called the Red Alliance, something like that. This guy knew much about the military, and he had a YouTube channel. In fact, I'll play some videos about him. And he mentioned something about the 2017 election. And he also mentioned something about Kibaki's regime. I'll start with Kibaki's regime. The first thing that Kibaki did when he got to power, Kibaki brought together his most trusted generals, okay? This general, that's why, Kenya in general, we know that we are very tribal, okay? When Moi was in power, the top generals happened to be Kalenjins, okay? When Kibaki came through, the top generals, he promoted generals who happened to be Kikuyus. And it is said that most of the generals, some of them, the top generals, not all of them, but the top ones, most of them who happened to be close to Kibaki, who happened to be Kikuyu, were very corrupt. Okay, they had different deals in whatever the case, and they actually helped him rig the election. So this is allegedly, but I will play you a clip by Martin Ngatia explaining how the Jubilee government, 1 and 2, 2017 and 2013, were helped, and he names a specific general that helped the Jubilee government come to power, right? Nani help Kenyatta, Uhuru Kenyatta too, okay, come to power. Let me play that video real quick so you can get some dose of what I'm talking about. Here it is. This gentleman he spoke fearlessly. If you go to his YouTube channel, unfortunately, he passed away. I don't know if he passed away because of old age or they just kind of got rid of him because he was very, very outspoken. Okay. But let me just play a video by this guy and let's get a kind of understanding of what he's talking about. Then I'll get to Ogolla. I will get to Ogolla. Okay. I promise I will get there. Here it is. Listen to this man carefully as we go on. Here it is, Martin Ngatia. Okay. Right here.
Mr. Ngatia, welcome back to this interview. Now, election campaigns are now getting very hot, and there is a lot of fear that Jubilee is planning to rig the elections. The courts have just decided that the company allocated for printing ballot papers cannot print ballot papers. Now, what is your take on, this election that is facing Kenya?
The best thing, thank you very much. The best thing is to prepare the Kenyan people for the consequence that are going to take place when opposition wins the elections and the President Uhuru Kenyatta, these criminals, refuses to hand over power to the opposition party, because we have seen there is clear that Jubilee is in panic. First of all, the whole Jubilee fraternity is shaking because they are thieves, they are criminals, they are fearing for their past sins, and the Uhuru does not believe being historically a one-term president in Kenya. So he is ready to shed blood to cause chaos and to kill Kenyan people. But this time, the oppressed people of Kenya are not going to accept a rigged election. We have seen Uhuru cannot win election in Kenya. The last time he was rigged by the military, missiles, by Kikuyu generals. This time he is doing the same. Uhuru is ready to shed blood, to use military, all the equipment we have seen. Of late we have seen he is using gas that is prohibited by the Geneva Convention, using this general. Now, what we want to tell or to warn.
I want you to listen carefully. This man said Uhuru Kenyatta was rigged by the help of the generals. Remember, I keep on stressing this. Uhuru Kenyatta joined Kibaki after he left ODM. And he even called Kibaki his godfather, or whatever the case is, Basically, going back, joining his tribesmen. And at that time, what's his name? Kibaki, President Kibaki at the time, he knew he was going to lose the 2007 elections. Okay? And at that time, he reshuffled the military. People talk about the Tonje rule, whatever Tonje, the Tonje rule. Nobody follows that. Okay? Okay? So he promoted a couple of generals, Kikuyu generals. Martin Gatia has a video which explains all that, okay? Because the intelligence community told President Kibaki at the time that there was a huge chance that he was going to lose the 2007 election. If you remember that, if you're alive that time, and you remember that, then, the intelligence community, NIS, whatever the case is, told him, hey, listen, you are going to lose this election, and if you dare refuse to, there shall be chaos. There's probability of, there might be chaos if you refuse to hand over power. They told him that. So Kibaki knew this, and he promoted Kikuyu generals, top generals, okay? That's why you hear people say Kibaki, he started well, but went back and akaendeleza ukabila, tribalism, okay? So he did that. And Uhuru Kenyatta joined him, what we call Mount Kenya Mafia, joined him in that. And as Martin Gatia, Goody is telling Martin was eliminated, I tend to believe that too. I suspect he was. I don't know what killed him. They say he fell sick and Kakufa. He was very vocal talking about the Kenyattas and also exposing the real politics in Mount Kenya. This guy was fearless and he was all about the truth. He didn't care if he was Kikuyu or whatever. If somebody he didn't agree with something, he was very principled. He would call him out. He even called out Raila for joining Uhuru later on. But that's not what I want to talk about. I just want to focus on this, the whole generals being involved, something that I don't see a lot of people talk about. I don't see the media talk about this. I don't see a lot of bloggers talk about this. We are so very keen in talking about all this Jose Comego and this union was rigged, but we never mention the use of the military top brass to subvert the democratic process of universal suffrage voting. Okay, so here it is. He mentioned, I'll just rewind so you can get that part that he says. And he mentioned the actual general, the name of the general that was involved, that helped Uhuru rig the election. Listen to him very carefully. I'll play it one more time.
This time, the oppressed people of Kenya are not going to accept a rigged election. We have seen Uhuru cannot win election in Kenya. The last time he was rigged by the military, misses by Kikuyu generals. This time he is doing the same. Uhuru is ready to change.
So you see, as the video shows, General Michael Gichangi helped rig Uhuru to power in 2013, but has now retired. So this is who helped Uhuru rig the election. Okay? So what I'm trying to bring to your attention is this. There always has been the military being used to do what? To rig the election. Now, fast forward. I'll stop there. I don't want to play more, but if you want to go watch Martin Gatia, go just YouTube his name, find his name on YouTube. You can see a bunch of videos where he talks about everything that was happening leading up to when he died. But here's the thing. So here's the thing. What I'm trying to get your attention to is this. The use of military general to rig election is something that Kenyans never touch on. And it was notoriously used by Uhuru Kenyatta. Now, let's fast forward to 2022. Okay, let's fast forward to who? 2022. Okay, are you ready? Now, I know Ruto is not the most honest man. He always, when it comes to promises, but there's something that he actually said that caught to my attention. I'm putting two together. The first thing, General Ogolla was appointed in April 2020 something last year, 23rd, okay? And Ruto told us that Let me take this picture out so I can get it clear. And Ruto told us that he never followed the Tonje rules. Tonje rule, which basically says, you know, they rotate. If the general, if the head of the military general is from the Navy, the next one to be appointed will come from, you know, the, you know, Rangers or whatever the case is, another whatever. Yes. So you got my drift, Goodyear. Yes, I'm coming there. Goodyear is saying makes sense. They tried using General Ogolla and he didn't comply, and it caused him his kaboom. I'm getting there. Come slowly, Goodyear. Come slowly. Stop. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so let's follow me. Goodyear. So remember, in fact, there's something that happened before we get to General Ogolla. Before General Ogolla was appointed by Ruto, Miguna tweeted something, and it's in one of my videos. I couldn't find it. I don't know which videos. I made so many videos. But Miguna said something. He tweeted on his Twitter page saying, it was during those Mandamano days, and Miguna says, you know, Ruto, do not be, be cognizant of history when it comes to coup d'etats. Okay, the current military generals that are there, you know, they kind of are from the former regime, the people who are appointed by Uhuru Kenyatta. You know, so it will be prudent of you to pick up somebody who you kind of feel safe, who's not going to turn on you and have a coup d'etat, because that's when the whole thing was happening, the Maandamano, and Ruto was, you know, naming Uhuru Kenyatta and the Kenyatta family as the people who are financing the Maandamano. Okay, so remember that. So Miguna tweeted, hey, Ruto, you need to check out whatever, you know, switch up the military so nobody turns on you. And Ruto did so. In fact, 24 hours or 48 hours after that, that's when Ruto picked General Ogolla. I made a video on this, and I read Miguna's tweet on that. He picked General Ogolla 2 days after Miguna's tweets, okay? And Ruto made it clear that it wasn't really General Ogolla's turn to be picked as a general. Okay, it wasn't his turn. Iyo mambo ya Tonje rules, he did not. Of course, he has the latitude and autonomy to do so because he's the CISC, you know, he's the chief, whatever, the head of armed forces. So the president can always choose whoever he wants. He doesn't have to go by the Tonje rules. Uhuru didn't do it. Nani didn't do it. So he chose Ogolla. But let's listen to what this man is saying. Carefully. Yes, Ruto udanganya, but here it's very important you listen to what he's saying. All right, let's play. I know it's a clip that you guys have seen 1,000 times, but listen to it carefully. Are you going to listen to carefully? All right, 20. Let me play it one more time just for you guys to get a clear understanding of where Ruto was going with this. All right, let's go. And Ruto, okay, so 20. Here it is. Sorry.
General Ogolla. General Ogolla is among the people who went to Bomas to try and overturn my victory. Do you know that? But because when I looked at his CV, he was the best person to be general. I called him and I sat him down. I told him, my friend, you went to Bomas to try and overturn my victory. But because you are the best person to be general, I'm going to give you the job. That is how it works with me. That's why I told you, if a person has the qualification, if he's best for the job, I will give him the job.
But that is the military. There's a code of conduct for the military and how politics works in Kenya, Mr.
Let me tell you, my friend, I had the opportunity. I could have appointed anybody. I had, I think, 10 choices. I didn't have to. You know, there are people who say, oh, you know, William Ruto appointed Ogolla because he was the deputy CDF. That's not the case. I made the decision consciously. And I made the decision against the advice of many people. Many people told me, you should not give this, you should not reward this kind of behavior. Okay. But, you know, I also must be sensitive. What exercised my mind? This gentleman has a good track record. And in fact, when I spoke to him, and it's not something that I should be talking about, but because you have asked a good question. What exercised my mind is this gentleman, yes, he may have made a mistake. Maybe because the commander-in-chief that time told him what to do. Maybe he... And when I talked to him, he told me, I have no defense. He told me, I have no defense. You do with me whatever you want. I cannot defend. It was wrong. What I did was wrong. Yeah? I am also conscious. My good friend Ayub, I'm also conscious that since independence, there is nobody from Nyanza who has ever been CDF. And it also played in my mind that I don't want a situation where a whole community think they cannot occupy a certain office. So many things that are part of my system overweighed the mistake he had done. Okay. You know, so I want to tell you that I make very sensitive appointments. I make very deliberate appointments. Many of the appointments, of course, that do not have to directly require my signature. Many of these managing directors, I don't know who, they are interviews, okay, all over the place. You know, so and when a panel decides, for example, I was brought a panel that interviewed the CEO of.
All right, let me stop it there. I think you get the gist of it. So Ruto explains to the reporter that you know, Ogolla pretty much said he was guilty of going to the Boma's place trying to overturn his victory. Now, I know there are some people, especially on the Azimio side, saying, oh, Ogolla wasn't there, stop making up stuff, whatever people are trying to believe. It's not debatable here. It's not, no. I mean, Ruto has to be really, I mean, I know hasn't made good of his promises, but exactly, you know, it's you know, like Goodia is telling us here. Let's read it again. Keep your enemies closer. Ruto shooting himself on the foot. What does deliberate appointment means? Hold on for a second. Hold on. Now, here's what I'm saying. It is now apparent that military generals are used to sway an election to a certain, you know, certain way in order to give victory to somebody, you know, particular people, the people who are part of the system that has been financed and maintained and protected by the British, because the British are the biggest gainer in this, okay? The West, to be exact, okay? So Martin Gatia told us, gave us the name of the general that helped Uhuru Kenyatta to victory. Now, Ruto is telling us here that Ogolla, a general, was sent to go overturn his victory. Lakini, when he became president, you know, alienda kamwapisha. Now, I can see how Goodyear can look at it and say, you know, keep your enemies closer kind of thing, where he brought Ghanim closer. But listen to what Ruto said, and that's why I played that clip. He said, the choosing General Ogolla to be, the head of the army or whatever the case, military, he did that against so many people's advice who were advising him. Connect that with the person who allegedly sent Ogolla to that place. Remember, Raila Odinga didn't send Ogolla in that place. Maybe he knew about it, but he did not send that. He didn't send it to Bomas. Uhuru was the head, the president. He sent Ogolla at Bomas. That's what he said. That's why you had, and Ruto was very careful when he said it, when he mentioned it. He said maybe, to give him not to be legally liable on that. Right? So Uhuru sent Ogolla at Bomas to go, change things. Afanye ile kitu. Ogolla went there, but things didn't go his way, whatever the case is, okay? So it is Uhuru who sent Ogolla at Bomas. Now listen carefully. Nani knew about this. You had a lot of them people talk about, we know Ogolla was there in civilian uniform. He didn't go there with his army outfit or whatever, because it could have been seen as a coup d'etat. So he went there in his Nenio. So here's where I'm going with this. Listen carefully. Uhuru Kenyatta has a history of using the military to sway victory in his favor. Okay? And he tried to do the same thing in 2022 by using General Ogolla. He did not succeed. Ruto ended up winning, becoming the president. Ruto brings Ogolla, and after Nani, after Miguna, told him, hey, listen, with all this mandamano happening, and that, according to the intelligence, remember Duale told us in Spice FM when he told us that he has evidence that the Kenyatta family are financing the mandamano. Basically, they were arguing that the Kenyatta family were trying to have a coup d'etat, take out Ruto. Ndio maana walikuwa namwekea hizi mambo yote, hizi mandamano. But finally, after Miguna warned Ruto chooses Ogolla. Ogolla akakubali, akasema, you know what, I'm guilty as charged. I was sent by Uhuru to, whatever. But Ruto chose him, skipped all these people. Remember, the top guys were Kikuyu generals. In fact, now that Ogolla is dead, the next guy is a Kikuyu guy. Okay, those are the people who are promoted by Kenyatta and Nani Kibaki. Okay, now Ogolla, the person who was loyal to the previous president, now gets the top seat of the current president. It's like he has switched sides. Okay, switch sides. Okay. Then you hear Nani, after switching sides, Nani, what's his name? Raila Odinga, around that time is when mandamano was happening. Around that time is when Raila Odinga was meeting Ruto secretly in Mombasa with Obasanjo and Suluhu to form the next Mambo ya NADCO and AU seat, the handshake, proverbial handshake that we know about now. Around that time. Okay? So after that, Raila kanyamaza, stopped the mandamano, told Mainanjenga, stop hizo mambo ya mandamano. He got his money or whatever the case is, he was offered. Mandamano ikaisha. Ogolla is now the what? Is the general. Uhuru comes out a few months after that or a few weeks after that and tells us there are some people who walimsaliti, majudas walimsaliti, right? And those 30 pieces of silver, they shall not get to enjoy it. Follow me. A few weeks after that, General Ogolla dies in a helicopter accident. Guess the people who don't show up in his funeral. Raila Odinga, Uhuru Kenyatta. The people who sent him, allegedly sent him to Bomas to change the victory of who? Of Ruto. They never showed up in Ninio. They never showed up. I don't even think Nani, what's his name? Kenyatta didn't even send Rambe, did he? No, he didn't. So basically, in my opinion, Ogolla crossed his former boss, Uhuru Kenyatta. Because Uhuru is the one who sent him to go wafanye ile kitu huko kwa Bomas. And matamshi yake was, somebody crossed me. It wasn't Ogolla's time to be Ninio if you are going to Tonje rules or whatever. And all the top generals who are in the military told Ruto, hey, listen, according to Tonje rules, give it to somebody else. It's not Ogolla. But Ruto went ahead and alieka Ogolla hapo. So maybe at Bomas there was a discussion that was held by Ruto. Because Ruto, like he said, Ruto had the right to Ninio. Kama angekuwa anataka kumninio, he could have court-martialed that Ogolla. Angemshika. Angemwambia, hey, listen, you messed up, you tried to subvert Ninio, you can be hanged to death. But Ruto probably sat with Ogolla and told him, hey, listen, I know who sent you, I know what you did, boss. You can, because Ruto, listen, it's either Ruto choose a Kalenjin military guy and he will be seen as, Ukabila, or let the Tonje law takes its course and the top Kikuyu generals who he does not trust, who are loyal to Uhuru Kenyatta and the Mount Kenya mafia, take the military. And so if he has this top brass of Mount Kenya Kikuyu mafia generals taking over the military, and you have the Kenyattas who are, these guys are loyal to them, and you have the Kenyattas who are funding Mandamano, causing all this chaos. Guess what? That's an ingredient for a coup d'etat. So he puts Ogolla there. After they have a heart-to-heart, tells Ogolla, listen, I'll put you here. Umetoboa siri ukaniambia nani amekutuma nini, but I'll put you here. I want to trust you. Wewe kwa hapo hivyo, simamisha hapo. Against the advice of the majority of the people who are top brass of military, who are not happy about this appointment. And Uhuru feels betrayed because the person who is sent to mess up the elections ends up working for the person who he didn't want to win. Then he akaeka matamshi yake sema some people have wamenisaliti kisiasa. And long behold, this happens. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a theory. It's not set in stone. You can see it. Some people see it as Ruto being behind Ogolla's death. I would ask myself, what's there for him to gain? And the person who took Ogolla's place right now is just temporary. This is not to, I'm not here to defend Ruto, and I'm not here to, I'm just saying, have you thought about it? Given the historical aspect of choosing the military to subvert democracy, an angle that nobody seems to address. We are all caught up with this. Jose Comego, Savas, Junini. What is the role of these generals when it comes to subverting the democratic process of voting? Have you ever thought of that? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, ladies and comrades, that's something that I just wanted to, ufikirie kidogo. I won't talk about the floods today. I'll talk about that later. Mambo ya nani, mambo ya huyu anaitwa and all this nonsense. We'll come to that. We'll come to that. And the mess up that this president is making. We'll come to that. I just wanted to, because this, I am curious. I'm waiting. I want to see what's in the report that led to the crash, helicopter crash that ended Ogolla's life. I want to read it. The military are the ones who are responsible for it, responsible to take out to undertake the investigation. I want to read it. I'm curious. So while the majority of people might be looking at the president as the main suspect, you have to think twice. Look a little bit deeper. Listen to what happens historically. Who was mad at Ogolla? Because, I mean, no, let me just, yeah, we'll never know the truth. Maybe we might not. Maybe we will. Because you have to think about it critically. Who would be so mad at Ogolla to a point where they wanted out? If Ruto wanted to get rid of Ogolla, he had the reason to. Angemdemote kitambo after finding out of that. Ile siku aliapishwa, he could have simply got rid of Ogolla and say, you know what, Ogolla, umejaribu kufanya hivi, I'm stripping you off of this military union and you have a dishonorable discharge from the military. But Ogolla seems to have crossed somebody else. And that somebody else, to me, is the person who sent him to do something at that Bomas. And Ogolla did not accomplish his mission at Bomas. So the person that they didn't want to become president became president and even went ahead and appointed him. So he gained. So guess who's mad? The very person who he sent up there. Okay, Goody is telling me the army investigating itself is a cover-up. The whole thing stinks. Yes, it is. It stinks. It has to. We have to have somebody, an outside body, an independent body, to investigate what happens. It's not hard. All they have to do is just get that helicopter or look at its history. The history of when was the last time that thing was serviced, where it was bought, all that stuff, and what possibly went wrong. I heard he was, last minute while he changed helicopters. Why did he change helicopters last minute? Who told him to do that? Let's exhume the body. Let's see. Did the pathologist, did they find any gas in his system? Some chemicals? What happened? We know about Saitoti and everybody else. So it's not hard to find the truth, but we need an independent body that can be trusted. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, brothers, sisters, friends, enemies and comrades, this is Kenya Revolution. I just wanted to touch on that. I will stop here. I will talk about some other things later. I know there's a bunch of news that's happening with all the floods and all the corruption and all the, the usual deal. I just wanted to make this so people can think a little bit outside the box. Thank you very much, Goodia. I'm out. It's been 53 minutes. I'll see you guys later. I'm Namnagan. Subscribe, like if you're going to watch this on repeat. Subscribe, like, share, and if you have, it's free to subscribe. For Christ's sake, go ahead and do that, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace and blessings.